When the biggest storm in the town's history was approaching, everyone was panicking. But 78-year-old Eugene calmly said, "The storm will hit in exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes, and it'll last 45 minutes." Nobody knew that for 25 years he had been tracking Soviet missiles. Eugene Miller's precise prediction caught everyone's attention, because this wasn't just a prediction. This was the experience of a man who had worked for years in a very special, very secret place. Eugene looked at screens every day and tracked very critical things. If he had made one mistake, very big problems could have occurred, but nobody knew any of this. Until that storm day came, Eugene's 40-year secret would be revealed when the town needed him most. And that day, everyone would understand that their neighbor wasn't just a weather-obsessed retiree. Hello, welcome to The Last Stand. Have you or your loved one served in the military? Share your experiences in the comments. Eugene Miller lived a quiet retirement in Cedar Springs, Colorado. At 78 years old, medium height, gray-haired, he was a methodical man who went to the store at the same time every morning. He had retired from meteorology 15 years earlier. His neighbors knew Eugene as the weather guy. Every morning while he was gardening in front of his house, neighbors would ask him about the weather. Eugene's predictions were never wrong. When he said it's going to rain this afternoon, it would definitely rain. When he said tomorrow will be sunny, not even a cloud would appear. This situation had sparked his neighbor's curiosity. Dorothy Henderson, his 73-year-old neighbor, would ask whenever she got the chance, "Eugene, how do you know so well?" Eugene would just smile and say, "Experience, Dorothy, experience." Eugene's daily routine was remarkable. Every morning at 6:00 a.m., he would wake up, turn on his radio, and listen to weather bulletins. But he didn't just listen, he took notes. Pressure readings, wind speeds, humidity levels. He carefully recorded everything. His neighbors sometimes saw strange equipment on his house's roof. Wind gauges, barometers, humidity meters. It was like he had set up a small meteorology station. Tom Wilson, his neighbor across the street, had once gotten up the courage to ask, "Eugene, why do you have so much equipment at your house?" Eugene's answer was the same as always. "Weather's important, Tom. People need to know." But Tom had noticed something different. Eugene's equipment was professional grade. The kind that a regular hobbyist couldn't afford. At the end of March, the Meteorology Bureau issued a severe storm warning for Cedar Springs. Local news channels were saying an unprecedented storm was coming. The townspeople had panicked. Dorothy Henderson rushed to buy bread from the store. Tom Wilson taped up his house windows. Everyone was making their final preparations, but Eugene was standing calmly in front of his house. With a small notebook in his hand, he was looking at the sky. He was checking the wind direction, glancing at his barometer. Dorothy came over to him. "Eugene, aren't you preparing? A huge storm is coming." Eugene wrote something in his notebook, then looked at Dorothy. "The storm will hit in 3 hours and 17 minutes. It'll last 45 minutes. It's not that scary." Dorothy was shocked. "How can you be so sure?" Eugene's precise prediction hadn't just affected Dorothy, but all the neighbors, because the meteorology experts on television were saying the storm could come at any moment and could last for hours. Tom Wilson, Mike Peters, and other neighbors had gathered in front of Eugene's house. Everyone was wondering how he could speak so confidently. "Eugene," said Mike Peters, "aren't you just a retired technician? How can you speak so definitely?" Eugene paused for a moment. It was as if old memories had come alive in his mind. "There are some things, Mike, that you don't forget." "What kind of things?" asked Tom. Eugene looked at the sky. When a person's responsibility is great, they learn to be careful, very careful. This mysterious answer had made the neighbors even more curious. But Eugene didn't want to talk anymore. Just as Eugene had said, exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes later, the storm began. When the first wind gust hit Cedar Springs, it was exactly 2:17 p.m. It showed the exact minute Eugene had calculated. The neighbors were looking at each other in amazement. Even the experts on television were saying, "It started earlier than expected." The storm was severe, but it was as Eugene had predicted. It lasted 45 minutes and ended. The experts on television were making statements saying, It lasted shorter than expected. Dorothy Henderson knocked on Eugene's door as soon as the storm ended. "Eugene, are you a magician? How do you do this?" Eugene smiled, but there was deep sadness in his eyes. "Not magic, Dorothy, just old habits." After the storm incident, Eugene's house had practically been flooded with visitors. All the townspeople wanted to learn how he made such accurate predictions. Sarah Mitchell, the town's retired teacher, was asking the boldest questions. "Eugene, are you this good as a meteorology technician, or is there something else?" Eugene stopped for a moment. It was as if he was trying to make a decision. "Sarah, there are some experiences that change a person. I used to do different jobs." "What kind of jobs?" Sarah asked curiously. "Important jobs, very important jobs." This vague answer wasn't satisfying the neighbors, but Eugene didn't want to give more details. Mike Peters had noticed that Eugene used some technical terms: barometric pressure gradient, atmospheric disturbance, meteorological parameters. These weren't terms an ordinary technician would use. Tom Wilson wanted to learn more about Eugene. He talked with the town's old residents. Eugene had come to Cedar Springs 15 years ago and had never talked about his past. Dorothy Henderson remembered a detail. When Eugene first came, he was very distracted, like he was carrying a very heavy burden on his shoulders, and he never watched television. He especially avoided news channels. Sarah Mitchell added something. "There are no photos in Eugene's house. I've never seen any family photos, any memorabilia. It's like he erased his past." These observations were deepening Eugene's mystery. Who was this man? Why wouldn't he talk about his past? Mike Peters shared the most striking observation. "Eugene sometimes looks far away, like he's living in another place, another time, and he can do very sensitive work without shaking his hands." This isn't just technician skill. Dorothy Henderson was determined to solve Eugene's secret. She started researching the town's old records. Where could she find the name Eugene Miller? In the city records, she saw that Eugene had registered 15 years ago. Profession: retired meteorology technician. Previous address: Colorado Springs, Colorado. Colorado Springs. Dorothy felt this might be important. What was in Colorado Springs? While researching at the local library, she found important information about Colorado Springs. The Cheyenne Mountain complex was there, and Cheyenne Mountain meant Norad headquarters. Dorothy's heart raced. Could Eugene have a connection to this? But this was too big a claim. Norad was America's most secret defense system. Could an ordinary man like Eugene have worked there? Dorothy didn't dare share this information with anyone. But her view of Eugene had changed. That evening, Eugene was alone at home. Like every evening, he turned on his radio and listened to weather reports. But he wasn't just listening, he was analyzing. Maps came alive in his mind. Pressure systems, front movements, atmospheric conditions. All this data was processed automatically in him. This wasn't just weather analysis. This was a job he had done every day for 25 years. But back then, what he was analyzing wasn't weather. It was much more critical things. Eugene closed his eyes and went back to the past. 1962, 22 years old, his first day at the Cheyenne Mountain complex in Colorado Springs. Miller, this isn't a game. A mistake you make could mean the death of millions of people. He could still hear Commander Richards' voice. The 25-year mission that started that day. Eugene opened his eyes. Those days were in the past. Now he was just an old man who predicted weather. In the following days, talk about Eugene in the town had increased. Everyone was wondering how he could make such precise predictions. Jack Murray, the town barber, was telling his customers, "This man isn't normal. Normal people can't make predictions this accurate." Retired police officer Bill Thompson had gone even further. "I think Eugene has important things in his past. What is a man who acts this secretive hiding?" Sarah Mitchell, one of the town's smartest women, had this theory. Eugene definitely received very high-level education in meteorology, but this isn't normal technician education. This is much more special education. Mike Peters had made the boldest guess. "I think Eugene worked for the government. Maybe he still does." These conversations had reached Dorothy. And Dorothy's Colorado Springs, Cheyenne Mountain research was on her mind. Eugene had started hearing the conversations in town. People were speculating about him. This bothered him. That evening, while sitting at home, he was thinking about old days. The 25 years spent at Cheyenne Mountain. Every day the same routine. Enter the door, security check, elevator down 1,000 feet, and enter that giant room. They were radars, dozens of radar screens. And Eugene's job was to watch these screens. Track every dot, analyze every signal, because one of those dots could be a Soviet missile, and Eugene's 1-second delay could mean World War III. For 25 years he had carried this responsibility. Every day, every hour, every minute, without ever making a mistake. When he retired in 1987, his commander Colonel Stevens had told him, "Miller, you've served this country greatly, but nobody can ever know these things. You're a silent hero." Silent hero. Eugene smiled bitterly. He had been silent for 40 years, and he would stay that way. On the morning of April 3rd, Eugene's phone rang. He was very surprised when he answered. Colorado Springs, Norad headquarters. "Mr. Miller, this is Colonel Jennifer Washington, Norad liaison officer. I need to speak with you." Eugene's heart raced. Why was Norad calling him after 15 years? "I'm retired, Colonel, 15 years ago." "We know, Mr. Miller, but your storm predictions in Cedar Springs caught our attention." Only someone with Norad training can make predictions this precise. Eugene was silent. His secret had been revealed. "Mr. Miller, can we meet with you tomorrow? We'd like you to come to Colorado Springs." "Why?" "Because the country needs you again." That evening, Eugene invited his neighbors to his house. Dorothy, Tom, Mike, Sarah, and the others. It was time to tell them all the truth. "Friends," said Eugene, "I need to tell you something. I wasn't just a meteorology technician." Everyone was listening carefully. From 1962 to 1987 for 25 years, I worked at Norad, at the Cheyenne Mountain complex. I was a radar operator. There was silence. Nobody was speaking. My job was to track missiles that could come from the Soviet Union. If I had made a mistake, World War III could have started. Dorothy felt her eyes filling up. "Eugene, we never knew. We're so sorry." "There's nothing to be sorry about, Dorothy. This was work that had to stay secret." "It still is." Tom Wilson asked, "So why are you telling us now?" "Because tomorrow I'm going to Colorado Springs. Norad has called me back." After Eugene's explanation, there was great excitement in the town. When his neighbors learned that he had worked at Norad, their attitude toward him completely changed. Dorothy Henderson was crying. "Eugene, you protected this country, and we thought you were just a weather enthusiast." Sarah Mitchell said this, "Now I understand why you can make such precise predictions. You received expert training in data analysis." Mike Peters saluted him. "We're grateful to you, Mr. Miller. Thank you for your service to this country." Eugene hadn't expected these reactions. For 40 years, nobody had received him this way. Tom Wilson asked, "So what happens now? Are you going back to Norad?" "I don't know, Tom. We're just going to talk, maybe just consulting." But Eugene had a different feeling inside. Maybe he could be useful for an important job again. The next day, Eugene went to Colorado Springs. Seeing the Cheyenne Mountain complex again after 15 years was a strange feeling. Colonel Washington met him. "Mr. Miller, welcome. The reason we wanted to meet with you is this. We have new generation meteorology specialists, but they lack your experience." Eugene was listening. "We want to make you an offer. 2 days a week, would you train our young specialists? Can you transfer your 25 years of experience to them?" Eugene thought. This meant returning to the old days. But there was no war anxiety anymore, just knowledge sharing. "I accept, Colonel." 1 month after Eugene started his new job at Norad, there was a big surprise in Cedar Springs. A ceremony had been organized in the town square. The governor of Colorado, the mayor of Cedar Springs, and Colonel Washington from Norad attended. Dorothy Henderson stepped up to the microphone to make a speech. "Today here, we're honoring a hero who protected our country for 25 years, but did it without ever bragging. Eugene Miller, you're a true American hero." The townspeople were applauding standing up. Tears were streaming from Eugene's eyes. Colonel Washington presented a plaque. "Mr. Miller, on behalf of Norad, we present our gratitude to you. Your 25 years of service will never be forgotten. A week after the ceremony, Eugene's phone received an unexpected call. From Colorado, his daughter Margaret was calling. "Dad, this is Margaret. We haven't talked for 15 years, but I saw your photo in the newspaper, at the Norad ceremony." Eugene's voice was trembling. "Margaret, how are you, honey?" "I'm fine, Dad. But I never knew that you worked at Norad. Why didn't you tell me?" "I couldn't tell you, Margaret. It was secret work." Margaret was crying. "Dad, I'm so sorry. For leaving you, I didn't understand. You didn't do anything wrong, honey. I was always busy with work. I couldn't spend enough time with you." "Dad, can I come? I want to see you. And you have a grandson, Alex. He's 8 years old. He wants to meet you." Eugene's heart filled with joy. "Of course come, honey. I missed you so much." Today, Eugene Miller lives a happy retirement in Cedar Springs. 2 days a week, he trains young specialists at Norad, spending the rest of his time with his daughter Margaret and grandson Alex. The townspeople call him our hero neighbor. Eugene's house is still like a meteorology station, but now not just for curiosity, but to help his neighbors. Dorothy Henderson still asks about the weather every morning, but now with different respect. Because now everyone knows Eugene Miller protected the world's security for 25 years, and he did it without ever bragging. The 40-year silence has ended, and Eugene finally received the honor he deserved. If these powerful stories appeal to you too, don't forget to subscribe to The Last Stand channel. We'll continue bringing you more hero stories every day.